I never liked the library after dark. During the day, it was alive. Students whispering over open books, printers clattering, sunlight spilling through the tall, arched windows. But when the sun dipped behind the trees and the last echoes of footsteps faded, the place changed. It wasn't just quiet. It was hollow, too big, too empty, as if the building itself was holding its breath. I worked the late shift at the circulation desk. It was good money, easy hours. Check books in, check them out, tidy up. The only rule was simple: never go below the 3rd floor after midnight. The lower levels were old. Storage rooms, archives, dusty stacks no one used anymore. The head librarian told me the floors were unsafe, the wiring faulty, the shelves unstable. But her eyes always flickered when she said it. Like she was telling only part of the truth. I should have listened. It started with a girl. She came in near closing time. Tall, thin, her hair hanging in tangled strands across her face. She didn't look like a student. Her clothes were old-fashioned, faded, like something out of a photograph. She didn't speak to me, just walked straight past the desk and down the stairs. I called after her, telling her the lower levels were closed. She didn't stop, didn't even look at me, just kept going, vanishing into the shadows. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to follow, but something in her movements, stiff, unnatural, almost puppet-like, made my skin crawl. So I stayed behind the desk, waiting, watching the clock. Midnight came, 1 o'clock. Still no sign of her. Finally, I grabbed a flashlight and went after her. The stairs groaned as I descended. The air grew colder, heavier. Dust clung to my throat, dry and bitter. My beam swept across endless rows of shelves, books stacked high, some crumbling with age. The silence pressed against me. Too deep, too complete. Then I heard it, whispering faint at first, like a breeze through pages. Then clearer, voices, dozens of them, murmuring words I couldn't understand. They rose and fell in waves, echoing through the stacks. My stomach turned, I called out. "Hello? You need to come back upstairs. The library's closed." No response, just whispers. I followed the sound deeper into the archives. The rows seemed endless, twisting, doubling back on themselves. My light caught strange shapes etched into the spines of the books, symbols instead of titles, runes burned into leather. Some shelves were empty, their books scattered across the floor in spirals. My pulse quickened. Then I saw her. The girl stood at the far end of the aisle, her back to me. Her hair hung down, hiding her face. She swayed gently as though caught in a breeze I couldn't feel. The whispers grew louder, circling me, crawling under my skin. "Miss," my voice shook. "You can't be down here." Slowly she turned, her eyes were black. Not just the pupils. The whole eye. Empty voids sucking in the light. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Only the whispers. Louder now, pouring out of her, filling the air, pressing against my skull. I stumbled back, clutching my head. My flashlight flickered. When it steadied, she was gone. But the whispers weren't. They followed me as I ran, chasing me up the stairs, through the stacks, back to the desk. My lungs burned, my legs shaking. I slammed the stairwell door shut, gasping. The whispers faded. Silence fell. I should have left then. I should have quit, walked out, never come back. But I didn't. Because when I looked down, a book lay on the desk, old, leather-bound. Its cover cracked, its pages yellowed. I hadn't brought it up. No one had. But there it was, waiting. I opened it. The words inside weren't English. They weren't any language I knew. But as I stared, the letters seemed to shift, twisting into shapes that burned themselves into my mind. My vision blurred, my head pounding. But I couldn't stop reading. The whispers returned, curling around me, soft, almost tender. That's when I realized they weren't coming from the book. They were coming from the shelves, from the books stacked around me, from the walls themselves. I slammed the book shut and shoved it away. But the damage was done. The whispers didn't leave. They followed me home. They followed me into my dreams. They spoke of things I couldn't understand, names that twisted my tongue, places that smelled of earth and rot. And then people started disappearing. First it was a student, a sophomore who came into the library late one night and never left. Then another, a professor, a janitor. Each time I'd catch glimpses of them in the stacks, just a flash of movement, a shadow at the corner of my eye. But when I looked again, they were gone. No one else seemed to notice or care. The head librarian never mentioned the missing. The other workers shrugged it off. But I knew where they had gone. Down, always down into the lower levels. The whispers grew stronger, louder. They called to me, urging me to follow. I tried to resist, but last week I found myself standing at the stairwell door again, my hand on the knob, my heart hammering. And when I opened it, the girl was waiting. Her eyes black, her mouth wide, the whispers pouring out. Behind her, the stacks stretched on forever, lined with books that pulsed like living things. And in the spaces between the shelves, I saw the missing students, standing still, silent, their faces blank, their eyes black. She reached out her hand and I took it. The whispers stopped. For the first time in months, there was silence. But it wasn't peace. Because now I hear them inside me. Not outside. Not in the walls. Inside. And when I close my eyes, I see the library still. Endless rows stretching into the dark. See the girl and I know what she wants. She wants me to bring others. To lead them down. To add their voices to the whispers. And I think I will. Because silence is worse, and besides, if you're reading this, you already hear them too. I never applied for a roommate. That's what made it strange from the start. My acceptance letter to the college had promised me a single dorm room. Small, sure, but private. I liked it that way. I didn't want anyone near me, breathing down my neck, watching me when I slept. I'd grown up an only child. Solitude was safety. The first week was fine. The room was plain but livable. Cinder block walls painted cream. A desk, a bed, a dresser. I unpacked my books, my laptop, the few clothes I owned. Nights were quiet, except for the distant hum of traffic and the occasional thud of footsteps in the hall. Then the scratching started. It came from the far side of the room, opposite my bed. At first I thought it was mice. The college was old, the walls thin, but the sound was steady, deliberate, like fingernails against plaster. I'd sit up in the dark, heart racing, staring at the blank wall, waiting for it to stop. It always did, eventually, until one night it didn't. The scratching grew louder, sharper. It moved up the wall, across the ceiling, down toward the floor. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight. Nothing, no holes, no marks, just smooth, unbroken paint. But when I lay back down, I heard breathing. Not mine, slow, heavy, coming from the empty side of the room. I froze. My mouth went dry. My pulse thundered in my ears. I whispered, "Hello?" The breathing stopped. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, when I returned from class, something was different. The bed opposite mine was made. Crisp sheets perfectly tucked. A pillow fluffed. On the desk sat a notebook. Black leather, closed tight, my stomach knotted. I hadn't seen anyone move in. No carts, no boxes. No key handed over by the RA. Yet here it was. A roommate, or something pretending to be one. I asked around. Nobody knew anything. The RA checked her list. "You're in a single," she said, frowning. "No one else is assigned to that room." But when I returned, the bed was still made. The notebook still waiting. I didn't want to open it. Every instinct screamed not to. But curiosity is a cruel thing. That night I sat on the edge of the bed and lifted the cover. The pages weren't blank. They were filled with writing. Small, cramped, slanted letters. Over and over, one sentence repeated until the ink bled through the paper. "I live here too." My skin crawled. I slammed the book shut and shoved it back onto the desk. The air felt heavier, pressing against me, thick with the smell of dust and dampness. I couldn't breathe. That was when the door opened. I hadn't unlocked it. And yet, slowly, silently, the handle turned. The door creaked wide. A figure stepped in, tall, thin, dressed in old clothes that looked decades out of style. Its face was pale, almost gray, its eyes sunken. It didn't look at me. It walked straight across the room, sat on the bed, and lay down. The mattress groaned under its weight, and then it vanished, just gone. But the dent in the mattress remained. I wanted to leave. I wanted to run down the hall and never come back. But my body wouldn't move. I sat frozen on my bed, staring at the empty one across from me. The next morning, the dent was gone. But the notebook was open. A new sentence scrawled across the page. "Don't ignore me." Days blurred after that. Sometimes I'd wake to the sound of someone breathing inches from my ear. Sometimes I'd find my clothes moved, my books rearranged, my drawers left open. I started locking the door. It didn't matter. At night, it always opened. I tried telling people. No one believed me. They said I was stressed, overtired, imagining things. But I wasn't imagining the bruises. Dark finger-shaped marks that appeared on my arms, my neck, as though someone had grabbed me in my sleep. One night I woke choking. Hands around my throat. Invisible, pressing hard, cutting off my air. I clawed at nothing, gasping, tears streaming. Just before I passed out, the pressure lifted. I coughed, gagged, trembling in the dark. And when I looked across the room, the figure was sitting on the bed, watching. I begged it to leave. The notebook was open again the next day. You leave. By then I knew I couldn't stay. I started applying for room changes, for off-campus housing, anything. But every request was denied. You're in a single, the office said, confused. Why would you want to move? I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. My grades slipped. I lost track of time. Then my RA vanished. She'd come to check on me one evening after hearing complaints about screaming in the night. She stepped inside, looked around, asked me if I was okay. I told her everything. She didn't laugh. She didn't dismiss me. She just frowned and said, "That room shouldn't still be in use." And then she was gone. Her things disappeared from her room. Her name erased from the floor roster. Everyone acted like she had never existed, but I remember. And I know where she went, the notebook told me. She lives here now. The figure is bolder these days. It doesn't hide. It sits at the desk, flipping through my books. It lies in the bed, the springs creaking. Sometimes I wake in the night to find it standing over me. Its face inches from mine, its breath cold against my skin. And the notebook. The notebook no longer says, "I live here too." Now it says, "We live here." And the handwriting isn't just one style anymore. It's two. I should have dropped the class. Everything in me told me to. The syllabus was strange. The readings obscure. The professor unsettling in ways I couldn't put into words. But the course filled a requirement, and I was desperate to graduate on time. That's how I ended up in Dr. Albright's class, Occult Literature of the 19th Century. There were 12 of us that first day. We filed into a dim lecture hall, dust floating in the stale air, fluorescent lights flickering. The room felt colder than the rest of the building, though no one mentioned it. We just sat waiting, our voices hushed. Then he arrived, Dr. Albright, tall, thin. His suit looked older than any of us, the fabric worn, seams fraying. His skin was pale, stretched too tightly over his bones. His eyes, God, his eyes were the color of ash, dull and lifeless, yet somehow burning with a weight that pinned you to your chair. When he spoke, his voice was soft, too soft, but every word carried, sinking into you, curling around your thoughts like smoke. He didn't take attendance. He didn't explain the syllabus. He just began to read, passages from books I'd never heard of, names that made my stomach knot, words that didn't sound like English, though I understood them somehow. The air grew heavier as he spoke. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder, flickered longer. Some students shifted uncomfortably. Others scribbled notes with shaking hands. I sat frozen, my pen still, my mouth dry. When the lecture ended, I stumbled outside, dizzy. My ears rang. My skin prickled with static. I told myself it was nerves, nothing more. But that night I dreamed of him. His voice echoing through endless halls lined with books that pulsed like living things. The next class, there were 11 of us. No one mentioned the missing student. No one even remembered her name. When I asked, the others looked at me blankly. My blood ran cold. Dr. Albright never acknowledged it. He just read, always from books I'd never seen before. Books with cracked leather covers and no titles. Books that smelled of mold and ash. The words dug into me. They left marks. I'd wake with scratches on my arms, ink stains on my fingers, though I hadn't touched a pen. The dreams worsened. Long corridors, endless whispers, doors that opened into blackness. Sometimes I'd see my classmates in those dreams, wandering, lost, their mouths moving silently. By mid-semester, there were only 6 of us. 6 left. 6 who still remembered. I tried to quit. I went to administration, begged to drop the course. The woman at the registrar's desk frowned at me. "That class hasn't been offered in years," she said. I left shaken, but when I checked my schedule online, the course was there. Room number, time, professor's name, Dr. Albright. And so I kept going. What else could I do? The lectures grew stranger. Sometimes he spoke in that soft, curling English. Sometimes in another language entirely. The walls of the lecture hall seemed to pulse when he did, the air rippling like water. Once, I swear, the floor opened beneath his podium, revealing a void that swallowed the light. But no one reacted. No one even blinked except me. I began to realize I was the only one who noticed the changes. The others sat slack-jawed, eyes glazed, scribbling nonsense in their notebooks. One night after class, I lingered. I told myself I'd confront him, demand answers. But when I approached the podium, the books were gone. He stood there alone, watching me with those ashen eyes. "You've heard more than you should," he whispered. His breath smelled of soil, damp, ancient. I stumbled back, heart pounding, but he only smiled, thin, cold, and then he vanished, just gone. The next class, there were only 3 of us. Me, a boy whose name I can't recall, and a girl with hair like ink. I don't know what happened to the others. No one else remembered them. The final lecture came without warning. Dr. Albright entered the hall, his suit darker, his skin paler, his eyes burning like embers in ash. He placed a single book on the podium, larger than the others, bound in something that wasn't leather. Its cover writhed when I looked at it too long. "This is the last lesson," he said. The lights flickered. The air turned to stone in my lungs. He opened the book. The words spilled out like smoke, curling around us, sinking into our skin. The boy beside me convulsed, his eyes rolling back, foam bubbling at his lips. The girl's mouth stretched wide in a silent scream, her hair whipping around her like black fire. I clamped my hands over my ears, but the words still poured in, burning, searing, carving themselves into my mind. The floor trembled. The walls cracked. The ceiling split open to reveal not sky, but an endless void, black and seething. From it, shapes descended, tall, twisted, their limbs too long, their mouths filled with teeth that clicked in patterns. They circled us, their whispers blending with the professor's voice, and then silence. The boy was gone. The girl too, just me and Dr. Albright. He closed the book gently, dust rising like ash. Then he stepped closer, his hand icy as it brushed my shoulder. "You listened," he said. "You learned." I tried to scream, but no sound came. "You will continue the lectures," he whispered. Others must hear. My vision blurred. My body trembled. When I blinked, he was gone. The hall was empty. The podium bare, but the book remained. It sits on my desk now. I don't remember carrying it here. I don't remember walking back to my dorm. But here it is, heavy, waiting. Sometimes it opens on its own. The pages flutter, though there's no breeze. The words crawl across the paper, rearranging themselves into shapes that burn my eyes. And I hear his voice again, soft, curling, sinking into me. I don't know how much longer I can resist. The words demand to be spoken. They writhe in my throat at night, begging to escape. And maybe they will, because the book is open as I write this, and the words are no longer in his voice. They're in mine.